what you believe could be wrong. Today, I want to go over a little word called dogma. Dogma is defined by the dictionary as a principle or set of principles laid down by an authority as incontrovertibly true. It is, in the broadest sense, any belief held definitively and without the possibility of reform. That is what the word dogma means, my friends. To put it in more simple terms, dogma is the belief that what I believe can't possibly be wrong, and there's no way for you to convince me otherwise. We see dogma everywhere. I would say that dogma is probably one of the worst offenders of our culture today. That our inability to see other perspectives other than our own harms us as a society, harms us as people in general. Because it is that dogma that prevents us from listening to our neighbors when they have something to say. It is that dogma that keeps us from seeking out any new information because we just believe what we've been told as the undisputable fact of everything. Now, I have made mention of this many times, but where I grew up, I grew up as a Catholic, and then when I was in high school, transferred over to the Pentecostal realm, the evangelical realm. And one of the most impressionable moments of my young adulthood came from when at that church, on the display board in front of the church, the phrase, "the free thinker is the slave of Satan," was displayed for all the world to see. Thinking, bad. Because thinking can lead to problems. Thinking can lead you to questioning dogma, which is bad, or they'd have you believe. That you should just follow along with what you've been taught is the truth. And if you can't do that, well, then you're a heretic, a blasphemer, all the other words that go along with that. But dogma is not just a religious thing. You can see dogma all the time in politics, especially today, in its harshly divided landscape that we live in, wherein our political parties define who we are, and we can't possibly see any good in the opposing party or a person of the opposing party, to the point today where we don't even view the opposing party as human beings anymore. We dehumanize those people, which is scary because there was a period of time about almost 100 years ago where that same thing happened to a group of people. But as humans so like to demonstrate, we do like our patterns, and rotating round and round we go to repeat the same mistakes of our ancestors. That's dogma. The belief that what I believe has to be true. I'm not open to any of your beliefs because you're obviously wrong. Now, to demonstrate dogma, I bring before you the Orb of Wooo. The Orb of Wooo is very beautiful, piece of glass. It reflects light into many different colors. And with the Orb of Wooo, if I shine a white light down upon this, it will break up into all of the colors of the rainbow, scattered throughout my fine library here. And each of those colors has a beauty all of its own. But all of those colors come from the light that hits the Orb of Wooo, the one source. And so too are not every, but a lot of truths in this world. See, a lot of truths have to be broken up into many different faces because as humans, and we come from different locations, different cultures, different regions, we see things differently. And so the face of God is like the Orb of Wooo here. Many, many faces, many facets on this. And each of those facets is its own very beautiful color. Now, what human beings do with Dogma is after I shine a light down on the Orb of Wooo and it breaks into all of those colors, we'll find the color nearest to us. It could be red, could be purple, could be green, could be orange, could be yellow, blue, it doesn't matter, whatever the color is. And that is the one true color. The one color to rule them all, the one that I have, that's nearest me. Because it's nearest me, obviously it is the correct one. Of course, that's very dangerous, and we know I was holding a prism up in the air, so we know that all of the colors come from the one light, and that's easy for our brains to wrap around. But where we find difficulty is taking a step beyond that and observing and noting that can apply at a much larger level, be it politics, be it personal beliefs, be it religious beliefs, and so on and so forth. That the color blue is not the only one true color, and that God has many faces for his many children and for the many cultures that have been created and have evolved through the course of time, which means that the truth is spread amongst those many colors. And it takes more than one lifetime or 2 lifetimes or 3 lifetimes to really get to grips with all of the faces on the Orb of Wooo. In a lifetime, we may get lucky for 5 or 6 of these, maybe a dozen out of hundreds. And so keep that in mind when you're hearing something, that just because it goes against your own personal beliefs, depending on what it is, does not necessarily make it wrong, depending on what it is. I know I have to defend that because someone will be in the comments, and there are certain things that I'm pretty sure culture can objectively define as always not being something we want to endorse, and I agree. But specifically here we're talking about beliefs that can be held by, religion is 8 billion people on the planet, and they all have different religions. 32 pro football teams in the United States. 32. Well, if you're like me, my team's not very good, but the other 31 might be the right team. We all have different faces. We're going to see different faces, and we need to keep those perspectives in general, in mind in general. Now, what brought that up? Well, of course, just daily living. Whenever I look at anything online, I can't help but notice the political back and forth, especially on election year. But you just in general, man versus woman, woman versus man, woke versus non-woke, whatever. All the different philosophies battling each other. Neither of them are willing to listen to the other side. And you'll always find there are parts where, I have more in common with most people than I have differences. But I also get along with very few people because of those differences. Those small differences make it so that it's hard for me to fit into most groups because I won't toe the line and just agree to conform to everything a group does. I like to think about both sides or 3 sides or 4 sides of the problem and try to come up with a better decision. That's what my goal. And esoteric teachings, you're going to find if you get into the rabbit hole, if you care about the rabbit hole, that there are multiple versions of the story being told, which can be aggravating. For example, Kabbalah. Well, there's many different layouts of the tree of life. There's different ways to visualize it. The Hebrew letters are not always on the same paths, depending on which version you're looking at. It can be a nuisance sometimes, or it seems like it. Alchemy is another one. So the standard alchemical formula or the standard alchemical elements, earth, water, air, and fire. And those correspond to the Freemasonic degrees. But then you get a guy like Albert Pike comes along and decides he's going to switch them. So instead of earth, water, air, fire, he goes earth, air, water, fire. And so that becomes a thing. Or you might look at a wand versus a dagger. And in some traditions, the wand is in the east, and some traditions, the wand is in the south. In some traditions, east is air, and in some traditions, east is fire. And you always ask that question, well, which one is true? Tarot's another one. The major arcana, as you go through the wheel of the arcana. Different decks have different orders. For example, the standard deck, key number 9, is strength. Well, not always. In some decks, key number 9, or is that key number 8? I always lose track of those. And I'm pretty sure it might be key number 8. Anyhow, strength I think is 8 actually. In some other decks, that's justice. And then you get Aleister Crowley, who just made his own cards up. Which one's right? Which one? Sometimes the colors are going to be different. Some will swear these colors are better than these colors. Well, which one's right? Which format should you use? There can be only one, right? No, see, that's the thing. Even it's easy to talk about dogma when we talk about religion, we talk about politics, but dogma is everything. It's in everywhere. And it's even in our esoteric studies when we go, which one of these is right? Remember, the East and the West philosophies vastly differ, but they both lead to the same destination. The same with exoteric versus esoteric. We take different roads to get to the same destination, to get to the source of the woo-woo. And each of those facets is just like everything I just said. One of these facets might be Rosicrucianism. One of these facets might be exoteric Catholicism. One of these facets might be Islam. One of these facets might be Hindu, Taoist, Buddhist, Baptist, Mormon, so on and so forth. They're all part of the Orb of Wooo, and they all lead to the same area, the same place. So that's what I want you to think about, dogma, and how to not get caught in the dogmatic trap of there is only one way to believe, because there's not. There's multiple ways, and it really, you'll start to learn it. It comes down to your will and shaping your will. The symbols, the colors, all of those things, those are there to help you. The religious path, those are there to help you. The gnosis is there to help you reach the orb of woo-woo above, God. And in whatever way fits you. Because we're all like little puzzle pieces. We all fit differently. But each one of us resonates with a path very strongly. And my path is no more better or worse than your path. You will eventually get to the same destination I do and have to make that decision when you do. When you do reach that knowledge of what to do, either move forward or stay behind in the matrix. But ultimately, the secret gospel of John says, we will all achieve that knowledge at some point. So that's all I got today. Keep that in mind. Keep the dogma in mind as you go forth. If you like this type of content, leave me a like and a comment below. Tell me about some dogma you might have encountered or some dogma you're fighting with internally. Let's have a conversation. I'll leave some links to some Discord channels if you want to have some conversations as well. I always enjoy these talks. That's why I do this, after all, is for the communication and the fellowship and the sharing of ideas. Until next time, my friends, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon.